Ron has been launched back into the water after 4 weeks on land. And we moved her to a marina to get the last things ready before leaving Seattle. The day of our departure was grey and rainy, but we had a great downwind sail. Beautiful day or morning. We're leaving for the San Juan Islands today. I'm going to go to Roach Harbor. It's about 38 nautical miles there. And the wind is from the south today, but pretty weak, so it'll be a slow sail, I guess, up there. And in the afternoon, looks like the wind is going to turn to the north and die out totally. So we'll see. But I think it will be a nice sail.
We hoisted the sails and set the whisker pole, as we thought we would have the wind from behind. But the direction quickly changed once we had passed the lighthouse and the wind started to die down. We slowly glided on the water for a few miles before turning on the engine. Over there is a Lime Kiln Lighthouse. And this area here is a popular place to come and watch orcas and whales. For some reason they like to hang out here or just swim by. So unfortunately there is no one around here today. We actually heard the other day that they've done some sightings of orca pod down in Southern California, which is a residential pod here in Puget Sound. So they are a bit worried or asking why they are down there. They should be, that's really far down south, it's a long way. If it's because they don't find food up here, the salmon has been overfished. It's sad if they're moving away from here, because they have been doing research on, I think it's 3 orca pods. It's a J, K, L, and L pod that they've been doing research I think since the 60s or 70s, so it's a really long time.
The last part here is coming up before Roach Harbor. It's called the Mosquito Pass. And it's pretty narrow. From what we heard, there can be quite a lot of current in there. But I don't think so today, because it's not spring tide or anything. So it's only the difference is only like 3 feet, like a meter from low to high tide now, so it shouldn't be too bad. But there are some rocks that you need to look out for. and but on the chart it looks really easy. It's just in the guidebook. It's they say that a lot of boats have run aground here. So.
Går det bra?
Ja, det går bra.
Är vi förbi stenen?
Ja, den är precis här, stenen.
Ah. Right out here we have a big rock right underneath the water surface.
Since the outboard engine hadn't been running for several months, I was prepared for problems. So I was quite surprised when it fired up without any issues. The fuel tank was almost empty, and we didn't have more gas on board.
We can't find the dinghy dock. We're not sure that there is one, but there has to be. This is such a popular place where people come and anchor or stay at our mooring bowl. So Johan went ashore to ask. And we need to find fuel too.
We almost made it to the dock, but we had to row the last bit. Okay.
A big low pressure was about to come in during the night, and we enjoyed the calm before the storm. Oh, the dinghy's upside down. Oh, we had a super strong wind gust and...
It's usually no problem having the dinghy behind the boat in strong winds. But when it's very gusty and the boat starts to sail back and forth on the anchor, the dinghy sometimes gets the full brunt of the wind directly on the beam. And because it's tied to the boat, there's a risk of capsizing. If we would have known that the winds were going to be this gusty, we would of course have removed the outboard engine. It's hydro-locked, the engine. The cylinder is full of water, so I need to remove the spark plug so we can get the water out, because right now it's just locked.
We were sheltered from waves, but the gusty wind often went from 10 to 40 knots in a matter of seconds. The dark pink shows wind over 30 knots, and the purple to blue is 45 to 60 knots.
It's still really windy today. Right now we have gusts of up to 45 knots there in Roach Harbor. We just came back from ashore and we have checked out from the US. Because we need to go to Canada, like we told you in an earlier episode, to leave the US for 15 days to be able to get a new cruising license when we come back. The reason for this is that when we left Alaska for Canada, there was some misunderstanding, and we thought that they had that we had surrendered our old cruising permit, and that we'll get a new one when we came back to the US after Canada. But for some reason that didn't happen, so when we came back, we were told that the old one was still in effect and that we needed to leave the US again for 15 days to be able to get the new one. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. The wind is supposed to come down later this evening.
Some curry for lunch. And it seems like the wind has started to calm down actually, which is great. It's not as gusty as it was like an hour ago. So yeah, hopefully it will just be calmer and calmer during the day. Det blir 4 timmar totalt.
In the afternoon, the gale was gone, so we took the opportunity to start a new project, installing foldable brackets for our cockpit table. The next morning, it was time for us to leave the US. Our cruising license was actually already expired, but the customs officer in Roach Harbor had allowed us to wait out the high winds. Now there was almost no wind at all, but we weighed anchor and started to motor the 9 nautical miles to Sydney in Canada.
Only 0.7 nautical miles until the border. And then we're in Canada again.
That was easy. Took like 30 seconds. I just asked for the registration number on the boat, and then he said, okay, so you're Johan, and who's with you on the boat? And I said, Malin. Okay, you're done. Here's your number.
Our next stop was going to be the famous Butchart Gardens on the other side of the peninsula. You cannot anchor in the cove, but there are mooring balls. The moorings are free of charge when visiting the gardens, but it's pretty tight, so a stern line to shore is needed.
Yeah, like you saw the other day, the dinghy ended up upside down with the motor in the water, salt water. So obviously that's not so good for an engine, and yeah. After something like that happens, you need to clean the whole engine. Especially, I flushed it with fresh water to wash away all the salt. And now I'm going to have to change the oil, probably a couple of times, because there's water in the crankcase mixed with the oil. So I'll need to remove that. I have removed the tank because there might be salt water mixed with the gas. I'm going to remove the water, or I'm probably going to throw this gas away. And obviously the carburetor needs to be cleaned. Yeah, so it's a bit of a work, but it shouldn't be anything major. But it's it's just annoying when stuff like this happens, because it is a lot of work. And you know, people sometimes they drop their outboard from their boat and it ends up in, you know, maybe in 10 meters of water. But you can always fix them, especially if you get them up quickly and clean them off with fresh water to remove the salt. Because I think the biggest problem is really the electronics, that you get corrosion from the salt water if it sits in salt for a longer period. So I think the best way is to take it out of the water, rinse it off with fresh water to remove all salt, and then, like I'm going to do now, change the oil, clean the carburetor, and to get it running again. Yeah, so let's see if I can get this motor fixed now within an hour or so we can go around the peninsula here with the dinghy into Brentwood Bay, get some food. You can see here, this is how oil looks when you have water in it. So this needs to be replaced, and I need to flush it probably a couple of times because this is not good for the bearings. I decided to use this, it's actually kerosene or lamp oil, and I'm going to flush the crankcase with this. So I'll fill the crankcase, shake it around a bit, and then empty it again, and probably have to do that a couple of times before all the water is removed from there. And then put new fresh oil in there, engine oil, and run it for a while, and maybe we have to change the oil again. But I think this is, because obviously the viscosity of this is better for cleaning than engine oil. The engine is flushed and looks a lot cleaner inside. And so in here I have the old gasoline, the old engine oil with water in, and also the kerosene that I flushed the engine with. So I guess we're going to leave this at an oil deposit next time we find one of those. And now I'm just going to fill up the crankcase with fresh oil, and after that I'm going to clean the carburetor. I'm taking the carburetor apart. These are really sensitive for if you get water in the fuel, and I guess even more so because it's a 4-stroke, because the jets in here are really small and tiny. So if you just get a tiny amount of water in the fuel, it will then you won't run. So sometimes it can be really hard to clean these because it's so sensitive. It can be just a little bit of speck of dirt or water, and then you won't run. So obviously when the motor has been upside down in salt water, this needs to be cleaned pretty thorough. So what I usually do, I just remove all the jets, remove everything on the carburetor that is possible to remove, and I use just normal VW40 to clean it. It's nice when you have this pipe because you can put it in where the jets used to sit and clean. It's pretty easy to clean the jets with this. So it's nothing special. The carburetor looks clean. It's just that there's probably water in it, so it's best to take it apart. So let's see if we can head into the village on the other side.
Do you think it will last all the way?
I don't know until we try it, but I think if we bring a screwdriver, if there is something, it should be the carburetor, and I can take that apart even if we're in the dinghy.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
managed to get ashore. At least it lasted for that long. So. Shopping done.
A big thanks for watching this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. See you next week.